Increasing my income through side hustles actually changed my life. And in this video, I'm going to show you how to organize your budget so that you can use your side hustle income to actually get ahead. So many people are making money from side hustles in 2025, and I realized that there actually aren't a lot of tools and resources to help you organize your money when you're in this category. They say up to 36% of Americans are making money through side hustles in 2025, and on average, people are making around $900 a month. And I know from firsthand experience that it is totally possible to be making even more. The thing is that your budget starts to get a lot more complex when you're in this category. You still have a full-time W-2 job, but then you might have 3 or 4 other sources of income through your side hustles. So now you're starting to mix pre and post-tax income. You need to start setting aside money for taxes. You might start to have some tax-deductible expenses. I have sold over 20,000 budget templates over the last 3 years, and what I realized from that is that so many of you fall into that category. In this video, I'm going to walk you through how to budget your side hustles to keep your budget super organized and be more prepared when tax time comes around. I developed this template because so many of you told me that in this side hustle stage, you want to keep your budget all together. You aren't at a point yet where your side hustles have their own LLC. It's still very much so on the side of your full-time job, and you don't want to manage multiple spreadsheets. You want to keep your budget all together. But like I said, you are at a point where you need to start setting money aside for taxes. You do want to track how much money you're making in your side hustle. You might have some tax deductible expenses that you want to keep track of. This template lets you do all of that, so let me show you how to budget. Okay, here we are in your budget setup tab, and this is going to be the tab where you are setting up your budget and entering in all of your categories. The biggest difference between this budget setup tab and setting up your budget in any other personal budget spreadsheet is that it allows you to distinguish between pre-tax income and post-tax income. So first, let's set up our income categories. Let's say that you have a salary from your full-time job, and we'll fill it out for January. Let's say your salary is $4,500, or you're not necessarily salaried, but you make around $4,500 a month in your hourly full-time W-2 job. Let's say you have a freelance gig. So freelance client 1, say that retainer is for $900 a month. Since this stream of income is your side hustle, that's pre-tax income that you want to keep track of, you would check this box, which would highlight it green, which would distinguish in the template your post-tax income, so your W-2 income, versus your side hustle income, so your 1099 income. Let's also say you have a second freelance client, and then this retainer is for $700 a month, or you make around $700 a month. You're expecting to make around that amount of money. And then let's also say you do YouTube. Let's say you're expecting to make $300 in January from YouTube AdSense. So as you can see, what we're doing is we're building out all of our income categories and distinguishing between your W-2 income and your 1099 income. Now, strictly after filling out the income portion of your budget, we can come up here to our annual budget overview, and we can start to see what these numbers look like. So what this template is doing is it's putting all of your post-tax income down here, but your budget for your pre-tax income is coming up here under revenue for $1,900, and it's going to start to tell you, if you make that amount of money, how much money you should set aside for taxes. So instead of your total income being the sum of this, it's going to first tell you how much money you should save for taxes. Your total income number is going to take into consideration you setting aside some money for taxes. So that's the purpose of the template, is to be able to see in one template your post-tax income, your pre-tax income, help you decide how much money you actually have to budget with. This estimated save for taxes number is going to come from a tax percentage that you set in the business dashboard. We'll get to this tab later, but as you can see in the business dashboard, you set a percentage to save for taxes. So let's say you want to save 30% for taxes, you would click 30%. As you can see in the budget setup tab now, it'll tell you to save a greater amount for taxes based on the amount of money that you're generating in business revenue. Now let's fill out our expenses. So I separated this between needs and wants. As you can see here, there's also check boxes under needs and wants as well. And what this does is it lets you check if a category would be considered a tax deductible expense. So for example, let's say that you write off a portion of your rent because you work from home, you are making self-employment income. Based on your situation or talking with a CPA, you're allowed to write off a percentage of your income. If you want to track that, you could separate your rent. So you could have your percentage of rent that you can't write off, your $2,000, and then let's say you write off $400 a month for your rent. Again, these are just estimates, but if your rent is $2,400 in total and you're writing off $400, you could separate it to have a category that tracks your write-offs. I listed some other sample categories here on the personal side, and then the other example that I gave is if you pay for a bunch of different softwares for your side hustle. In this example, I put that I budget $250 a month for business-related software, so anything that has to do with my side hustle that would be a tax-deductible expense. On the one side, there really isn't anything here that I would consider like a tax-deductible expense. I left the check boxes here depending on how you want to fill it out. So I just put some personal categories here like food and drink, shopping, fitness, subscription. Your entire personal budget lives within this template, but if you check a box box, then it'll flow into the business dashboard to track anything related to your side hustle. Now the other three categories are debt, savings, and investments, and these pretty much work as normal. As you can see here, I put in a car payment and a student loan payment, put in under savings, emergency fund, and travel, and then under investments, I put Roth IRA. And then I'll show you what the budget overview looks like for the month of January. We have our revenue, so that's all of our pre-tax income that we budgeted for. We have our tax deductible expenses that flows up here. And then based on these numbers, we have our estimated to save for taxes. That gives us our leftover amount. So out of the money that we're thinking that we're going to make in our side hustle, how much of that can we actually budget with? That's what we're trying to figure out in this template. So the leftover amount adds up with the income, subtract needs, wants, debt, savings, investments, and then that gives you your leftover amount, which is what you want to be as close to zero as possible. The next tab is going to be the monthly tab. So there's 12 monthly tabs in this template, January through December. You only can start using this template as soon as you get it. So let's say you do get it in June. I would say for tax tracking purposes, only use it from June to December, and then you can make a new copy and start fresh at the beginning of 2026. When you get this template, you can make as many new copies as you need to, so you can make new copies every single year as needed. On the monthly tabs, it works exactly the same as my simple monthly budget template if you've been using that. And with that, the only thing that you need to do on these tabs is to fill out the transactions. So I'll put in some sample transactions so that you can see what it looks like. Okay, so here's what it looks like once we get some transactions in there. As you can see, any income or expense transaction that is related to your side hustles will populate as green. And then all of that information is going to flow to the top of the template. So you're going to be able to see, okay, so far this month, I have made $1,400 in my side hustle. I have $450 so far in tax deductible expenses. So my revenue minus my expenses times my tax percentage gives me the amount of money that I should be setting aside for taxes for my side hustle income. And with that, the amount of money that you save for taxes will give you your leftover amount that flows into your budget. The monthly dashboard gives you a ton of information on where your money went, and all of these blocks down here shows you exactly what you budgeted versus what you actually spent. All of this might look a little bit overwhelming, but again, you're only filling out the transactions in these tabs. So the rest of this is just a ton of data on where your money's actually going. Cash flow summary is a really good overview of your income, including all of your side hustle income, and then where all of that money actually went so that you know exactly how much you have left over. Now let's get into the business dashboard. There isn't much information that you have to put into this tab. A lot of this is strictly just informational because again, you want to be able to track how much money you're making in your side hustle, how much money you should be setting aside for taxes, any tax deductible expenses, all of that. That's all going to live in this business dashboard. So it's going to give you your income summary by category. It's going to show you your income versus your expenses by month, which obviously will have a lot more data in it the more months you use this template. Your profit summary by month, all of your expenses, your annual tax summary. This is just a really good dashboard of all of the information related to your side hustles so that you can keep track. Then on the personal side, the annual dashboard is more based on your personal income, your personal expenses. Again, that side hustle summary is flowing into it, but this is a better way to show you a more comprehensive picture how your side hustle income and those leftover profits actually flow into your budget. This gives you a ton of information on your cash flow summary, your pre-tax versus post-tax income, plan versus your actual cash flow. I love this tab so much. Throughout the year, I always come in here and how much I'm spending versus how much I budgeted, how much I'm spending by month, if my spending is going crazy for some months. There's a ton of information in here to know exactly where your money's going. And then the last tab of the template is your financial goals tracker, which is essentially your net worth tracker. So what this is doing is for your debt, your savings, and your investments. It's allowing you to keep track of your contributions toward your debt, toward your savings, toward your investments, so that you can see how you're doing from a net worth perspective and make sure you're making progress. So all of the categories that you populated in the budget setup tab, those automatically flow here in column B. So the only thing that you're editing in this tab is column D under your start information. So what you do is, let's say your emergency fund has $10,000 to start, and your travel fund has $1,000 to start. You're gonna enter that in, and then every month it's going to automatically track how much money you're contributing to those accounts based on the amount of money that you've said that you've tracked in the transactions log. So again, the only thing that you're entering is column D in this tab, and the rest of it is strictly informational. That brings us to the end of today's video. I'm so excited about this template because like I said, I don't see many tools out there to help people who are increasing their income with side hustles. They want to track everything, but they still want to keep everything together all in one template. I've been working on this for months and I'm so excited about it. If you have any questions about the template, definitely leave it in the description of this video. I will leave all the links in the description as well, and thank you for following along.